Welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. It's Richard here, your favorite Irish Mexican, coming at you from the great state of Texas. So, this is possibly one of the final podcasts of the year. I haven't decided. Normally, I've been doing Wednesdays and Thursdays, but kind of depending on how things go and what happens New Year's Eve, I might do a New Year's Eve podcast, maybe an interview or two, just depending on who's around. Nobody's got a plan set in stone yet, but as for me and my family, we took a week off, and we are out of town visiting extended family. So, pardon me. So we're going to be New Year's Eving with extended family and possibly some friends. So we may end up with a podcast because some of the interviews I've been wanting to do, and I don't know when I'll get the chance. If not, then. So just stay tuned. Who knows? Everything's subject to change, as usual. Got to be flexible. And I don't mean like touch your toes flexible. Got to be like a palm tree. You got to bend without breaking sometimes. But on other notes, this week I got my first non-U.S. listener. So thank you, whoever you are from Ireland. I don't know if it was one listener. They kind of break it down by a percentage, but apparently the Irish Mexican has reached Ireland, which is awesome. But hopefully we can spread some positivity other places. But, fuck it. We're just going to off the cuff it today. I just got some notes, but have a little moment in time here. My wife, daughters, nieces, and everybody, they're gone to the mall shopping out there with the traffic. So I decided I would actually stick behind and do a little podcast while the brother-in-law's at work and everybody's gone. But the weather here is nice. It's about 65 degrees. Had a nice walk this morning. Gave me a good chance to think. One of the things with being off that I'm kind of not used to is, getting to go out and Uber and listen to podcasts, stimulate my mind, and also think about ideas and things that I want to say on this podcast. So it's kind of, that's kind of my time. And then I kind of direct my mood based on, I listen to many different podcasts, but, it's kind of, do I want to learn? Do I want to laugh? Do I want to listen to something totally ridiculous? But whatever it is, usually if I drive for 4 or 5 hours, I'll have time to get through a couple of different podcasts. But, since I didn't, I'm not going to get the Uber all week. So basically, I'll have to use my time doing other things. Getting ready for 2024, kind of tie up some loose ends, maybe make some loose plans. I don't want to say, some people, they go hard in the paint when it comes to setting New Year's resolutions and goals and this and that, the other. And I think there's some value in it. I do. You're not going to reach any goals if you don't have any. But, I think people try to go too far too fast, jump in head first instead of feet first. You have that, and, I used to work with a doctor. I had a great piece of advice, and this is especially great advice if, let's say, you're having a mental tough time, or let's say somebody wants to quit drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes. Quit one at a time. You can't slay all your dragons at once. You know? Take it step by step. Slay one dragon, then focus on the next. That's about all you can do. But, I think people, like I said, I think it's a positive thing, and I think it's important to have some goals and kind of maybe build a loose framework of what you want 2024 to look like, some things you want to accomplish, and whatnot. But like I stated in the beginning is, hey, you got to be flexible. You can make that loose blueprint, loose plan, but at some point in time, that piece of paper might end up in the trash, and you might be starting from scratch. So, you got to be flexible. Get a drink of water here. But I think it's also a good time of the year. Symbolically, you're moving from 2023 to 2024, and I think symbolically it's a way to shut the door, close a chapter, and start a new one. Just like so many things, a song has a beginning and an end, a book, but then it's broken down into chapters. And in this book of life, we're moving on to chapter 2024. So, for me, I want to continue to Uber. Definitely. I want to, because I enjoy it. It gives me time to think. It gives me time to listen to podcasts. Get to meet some cool people. Met a cool stranger the other day when I was picking up an order on Christmas Day. I actually went out and delivered on Christmas. Yes. Only for about 4 hours. And it was good money. It was worth it. But I met a cool person while I was picking up Chinese food and sparked up a conversation with him. And, it was just nice. It was refreshing. I had a couple of bad weeks mentally and just slowly starting to get over it, maybe in the last day or so. But, sometimes it's hard to talk to the people who are there closest to you, but a refreshing word from a stranger or something. I don't know why that is. Maybe it seems less threatening because, I guess sometimes if you want to be vulnerable with, let's say, the people who are closest to you, maybe you feel shy, maybe you feel embarrassed, maybe you feel like you're going to be judged. But sometimes with a stranger, you just met them, they don't know you, you don't know them. Maybe you're never going to see each other again. Maybe you will. Depends on the size of the town. But either way, there's something about kind of being open and vulnerable and allowing a stranger in and having that kind of help be a mood uplifter or a breath of fresh air, if you will. But it's also good because, I think it's important to anyone listening. I mean, make a new friend. If someone's nice, there's no reason not to talk to them. Just two friendly people having a conversation. But, we're all, for whatever reason, at Christmas Day, we were both in the same place, so you already have something in common there. But, I've always said, across the board, regardless of gender, religion, where you live, we're all fundamentally the same in that we want to love, be loved, hopefully do something that we enjoy, hopefully be of purpose of some sort, I think, at least. But, we're all different, and we all play different roles in the world, and, it's great that we're all different, because not all of us are fit or suited or have the desire to do the same things. And you need people who are interested in, electricity or plumbing. As I stated in previous episodes, it was kind of a There was a time when trades were just thought of to be less than, and now it's hard to find people who maybe do good work, whether they're mechanics, carpenters, house builders, So it's good that we're all different. And, whatever it is, whatever it is that you like, just find what your gifts are and nurture them, water them like a garden, grow them, try to get yourself around like-minded people. And, things just kind of start to open up. But, I'm of a different generation than, let's say, some young people, and that was probably another part of why it was so refreshing to actually have a human interaction, to meet someone, a stranger in a random place, and just start talking. It kind of reminds me when I was a young person and you could go to a bar or something, there were no cell phones and there was no Tinder, there was no this or that. It was, if you want to meet people, you run across them somewhere. Maybe you go to a bar. Maybe you ask a girl to dance. Maybe you meet at the library. Maybe you ask a cute girl or boy to study with you outside of class. But that's kind of how it had to be done. It was definitely a different world. So, but nonetheless, I was appreciative of it. And also I was able to get back on TikTok and kind of run into a few people that I like chatting with, because there's real good people out there too on that platform. There was a guy this morning, Irish, who has moved back from Ireland to Colorado, and he was going to go out and beat the streets for a job today. So good luck out there, Irish. My vibes are with you. I hope you get something. That way you can get on your feet and get going. But, it's kind of in that hustle mindset. But, kind of like old school research, you, even TikTok, you roam through, you find a few cool people. Maybe they do cool things, play guitar, do some voiceovers, cooking, definitely like that. But it is easy to get sucked into, but sometimes that too can be a breath of fresh air. Just being able to talk with somebody, or being acknowledged by somebody, or acknowledging someone else. So remember that next time you're out there and you're able to acknowledge somebody and just say, hey, maybe they're having a bad day, and maybe your word is what's going to get them through that day or put a smile on their face. Because if you're having a bad day and you're in the trenches of a mental health hijack, it's few and far between. Definitely difficult to get a smile sometimes, even though you think rationally, sort of. All right, going to look at my notes here. All right, we got that. Oh, part of that, what I was saying on closing a door and opening a new one going into 2024, not trying to slay every dragon at once. Just ease in and go for consistency and progress. And, it's the same with me, like with the podcasts. Since the consistency podcasts I put out, I'm pretty sure I've been consistent, but that's the goal. Making progress, started off just on headphones and the Spotify for Podcasters app, which I'm still using, but, I got myself started using GarageBand. I think that sounds a little better, and, next we're going to be looking for an intro from somebody, maybe something with a sweet reggae rock beat, kind of, Some of my favorite bands are like the Elevators, Kyle Smith, um, Tropodelic, Common Kings I like. But, something kind of groovy, maybe some horns. But yeah, gonna need an intro. And then, an interview, and then possible forward interviews moving forward. I'll still do solo, but I definitely want to get in on some interviews. I've had some people ask to collab, and I definitely want to do that. But, consistency and progress. Doesn't have to be perfection. Everything's not going to happen overnight. Hence, the reason I'm here today is that consistency. And one day, you'll turn around and hopefully it will have surpassed what you ever thought it could. Just like waking up and seeing that, somebody from Ireland's giving me a listen. And that's pretty cool. It's one of those things of sometimes when I wrestle with the material that I put out or the things I say, and I feel open and vulnerable and sometimes a little embarrassed and maybe sometimes a little ashamed, but then at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I know I'm not the only one. Maybe if someone can relate, if it helps somebody else get through their day, one person, then it'll be worth it. And not only that is, it's kind of a what's on my mind memoir for my daughter, my wife. Anyone can always go back and listen. Because, given all the collective experiences I've had in life, life is fragile, life is precious. It's chicken today, feathers tomorrow. Never happens to you until it happens to you. It's never you until it is you. So, it's you want to say some of these things now. And I've been thinking of an episode that kind of revolves around this. And, it's just going to require a little more planning. And you'll know the episode when it hits because I think it's going to be pretty special. But, you really, I think about that, I've kept journals for years, and I have them in a bin that I've toted kind of everywhere, kind of like a Foot Locker type of thing. But, I always said, hey, one day I'm not going to be here. Everybody's going to open those things up, and they're going to know what I really thought. And then one time, I had a history professor. We had this long, amazing conversation, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll write a book someday. And he's like, well, you have a lot to say. And I was like, well, maybe I will. And, the men of the house, I actually may have a few pages or start a chapter of wanting to write that book. I started off as a blog with WordPress. It's horrible. Wasn't great. I think blogs were just kind of maybe phased out by comparison to podcasts. And but now, hey, we have podcasting as a mechanism, and it'll be out there, and if nothing else, the recordings will be on my computer, and my family at least will be able to go back and, if they so choose, if they hadn't got enough of me at some point in time. But, it just kind of seems to be the medium, or at least the medium for me. I think, I just see it so much different. Like, let's say my wife, she's not really a podcast listener, but she does listen to this one. But, I'm obsessed with podcasts. I listen to all kinds, all the time. Sometimes if I can't fall asleep, there's something soothing about it. I do listen to audiobooks as well. So it's kind of like, hey, is anybody else out there obsessed with listening to podcasts? And I kind of wonder why that is. It's like, what about is it that's so attractive? Maybe long form conversation, or, you know, is it the material? Is it the laughs? Is it the learning? Um, what is it? It's kind of like some people studied background music, or, you know, they have those concentration frequency wave things you can put on YouTube while you study or do work. You know, for me, a podcast, or there's a guy on TikTok, KSR Voice, who does voiceovers or voice acting, voice reading, whatever. But yeah, a lot of people in the comments will put, like, he has a soothing voice. It's easy to listen to. It's relaxing a little bit. But you know, I love music too. That was kind of my first love. And but I think I'm tone deaf. My voice isn't great. It's a little raspy. It's a little off-putting, so I don't think I was ever going to be a musician. Maybe playing guitar, but wasn't that great. And maybe I played for 10 years straight and haven't played in the last 17. Maybe here and there, but nothing special. But that's something I would actually like to do again. For the enjoyment, for the focus, for the love, is to get them kind of set out in the office area where I want to podcast. Because, you know, if they're always out, you're definitely more likely to play them. But yeah, that's something I kind of want to do and get back into for myself and for the pure love and enjoyment of it. Because I did it every day religiously for 10 years or more, and then for whatever reason, well, it was a bad breakup. I don't even know, but where I probably should have went deeper into playing guitar, for whatever reason, I didn't. I backed off of it somewhere along the way. So, yeah, I think maybe I'd be much better with, 17 years plus the 10 I'd already been doing. But you never know. Hey, I was never going to be a virtuoso, and so, meh. You can't be too broken up about it. But also, hey, this is where you're at, and really at the end of the day, I think too, it's you got to enjoy it, and you want to do it because you enjoy it, and you look at a lot of bands and stuff, and I like these smaller bands, kind of smaller rooms. Some play big shows, but I definitely like to see the bands that are enjoying themselves and enjoying playing music, because that's why you should be doing it in the first place. I think too many people maybe they want to be famous, and that's why they want to do it. And it's not really about the music. That's their way to be recognized or get that love and the desire that everybody wants, that we all crave on a fundamental base. But yeah, I would definitely like to play guitar, continue to be consistent with exercising, both for my mental health and, just also so you feel good, so you're healthy. Still got some months of winter. You got all this RSV and everything running around you. I think the best offense is a good defense. Or is that what they say? Maybe. Or best defense is a good offense. I don't know. But regardless, you're not gonna, exercising is only gonna benefit you in some way. So if you can prevent trying to get sick just by being healthier, then do it. Even if it's just a walk to clear your head. Start small. Just be moving. Just think about what you're putting in your body and try to do good more than you do bad. Just try to shift the ratio a little bit. You don't have to go 90% one way and burn yourself out. But yeah, podcast, maybe play some guitar, continue Ubering. I do need to get a new car this year. I'll put that out into the universe. I need one so I can do more Ubering and reliably, because I've just had way too many car problems over these past 14 episodes. It's running fine at the moment, but hey, you never know about Black Bat. And it's got almost 200,000 miles on it. So yeah, it's time for a new ride. But yeah. Just keep doing this and just working to be the best version, truest version of myself every day. And, help the people in my life get along with their life. Be a supporting factor in that. Whether it's my daughter and her school, my wife and what she does for her business. Be a good son. Help out my dad, continue to take him to doctor's appointments. Just different things. Not a whole lot. I mean, if you look, I'm not trying to go to the moon or anything. I don't think I'm asking for anything that's not attainable. I have my basic needs met and pretty much everything I want. I'm not really a things guy. I'm more of a feelings kind of intrinsic value type things, not extrinsic values. Extrinsic. Which I was listening to Huberman Lab this morning on my walk, and they were talking about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, and some people respond differently. Some people are motivated by money. I am not. I would like it, yes, and it would make my life easier at times. But I know in order for me to be happy, I don't need a lot. Sometimes the more simple, the better. A guitar, a book, a podcast, some TV, food, shelter, the people you care about. It's really about all you need. And most of that you could do without. This is just modern era stuff, like be it a podcast or whatever else. I can't remember what I said. I had a little brain fart there. But mostly because I was thinking, back in the day, it was that simplicity was you were poor or broke. Hey, as long as you had food and shelter, I had my guitar. You go to the half-price books. Library's always selling $1 or $2 books. Go to the library, check out a book. You can read. You can exercise. You can meditate. You can do, because you're not sitting there scrolling. Or I think I mentioned on the last podcast, my wife and I is like, when we were kind of coming up and got our first apartment together, and it was like, what we could afford to do was go to the library and check out DVDs and stuff. But, those were definitely some of the best times. Because we didn't have much, but we had each other, and each other was enough. And then it's like as you evolve and you got kids that grow up, you gain more things, and the focus can drift a little. Because now you have all these other things to provide for, and you're kind of this team to do it, but it's definitely not like it was in the old days when it was like, hey, it's just us. We got this. But, I think life is a little bit like that for a lot of people. Not just myself and my wife, but, it's definitely I don't know when, but I'm sure there was a trend somewhere of, a husband and wife raise a family, and then all the kids leave, and then mom and dad don't know each other anymore, or they're just different. They've evolved. They've always been together, but it's been a 18 or 20 or 20 something years, depending on how many kids you have and how long it takes them to get out of the house, that it was just the husband and wife kind of making it, and kind of, just being with each other was enough. That's all it was ever about, was like, hey, I just want to be with that person. And, when you're laying there with someone and watching TV or something, you're like, hey, I could just do this forever. This is perfect. Yeah. So, that's how I'm motivated, I guess, by those kinds of things, and the way that makes me feel, and what it means. Because I'm a very empathetic person, and I feel a lot, sometimes too much, too hard. But, it's those same feelings, or that openness to feel others' pain and be empathetic towards that, also opens me up to a place where I can be easily hurt, if I'm not careful. But, I say, hey, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to put my guard up and be afraid of being taken advantage of just because I'm scared of being hurt. Hey, I just got to be true me. And if true me is caring, I would give you the shirt off my back. Unless you tell me you're going to take it from me, then you're going to have to take it from me. Yeah, I'm not going to change that. And part of 2024 for me will be kind of getting out of my head and not thinking about some of these things that have kind of bothered me the past several weeks, of, learning to accept who I am, what my strengths are, and kind of being okay with it, and not struggling with things I shouldn't struggle with. Like, hey, I know I'm not going back to the same kind of job I had last time. That environment. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not even going to waste any more time considering it, or considering if I should. It's not fit for me. It's not fit for my personality. If I'm not happy, if I don't fill my own cup, then my family's not going to be happy either. So, just accepting little things like that, things that I'd kind of wrestled with in my head and kind of had conundrums, and doing a bunch of mental gymnastics, feeling stuck, like, I want to do more, but I don't want to give in and be miserable, because what's the point of living? I mean, if you're just going to exist, I don't want to exist. I want to thrive. I want to enjoy. I want the people around me to enjoy. I want to add to other people's lives. Like when I worked in the emergency room, I was a support person. But hey, it's a good feeling to know that if I'm around, your life's going to be a little easier, because I'm going to make sure you have everything it is that you need. And, that's what I do. That's my personality. And so, I just kind of hope to continue that, but in a different way, in a different place, using some of the skills and talents that I have, and kind of shedding any of those that haven't served me, won't serve me, haven't served me in a while. But yeah, a lot of rambling here. Like I said, fuck it, we're going to off the cuff it. because that's kind of what I'm known for. Let's see. Check out my notes here. What do I got over here? It's okay to fail. It's not okay to not try. Pretty self-explanatory. Failure sucks, especially if you're an A-type personality like myself. Like I said, one point in time, getting laid off felt like failure. But, like the last episode, go back and listen to that. What I learned from being laid off, hey, I learned something from it. So, being afraid of failing is not a reason to not try. It's kind of like this podcast. Hey, it may never go anywhere. It may stay the same 6 followers and listeners forever. But how else would I know unless I try? So, here we are, giving it a whirl. And, we'll go ahead and tell this story to finish it up. Because it's relative to some of the things I had said before. And maybe it'll explain a little bit of this ranting. Grab a drink. So earlier in the podcast, I said, it's never you until it's you. Maybe 5-6 years ago, I come home. I don't remember the day, but I'm pretty sure it was a weekday. And we'll know why in a minute. But come home, I'm taking my shoes off. And at this point in time, where I grew up, my grandparents and my mother lived together. And my wife, myself, and my child, we lived in a different place, in an apartment. I come home, I'm taking my shoes off, I get a phone call from my wife, and, I've already had a long day. And she's like, you need to come to what we call home now, where I grew up. You need to come out here and help look for Grandpa. Your grandfather's missing. I'm like, what? Like, he doesn't drive. He's had some kind of mental, senile type issues, Alzheimer's. But yeah, I'm like, oh, it's very, very difficult to process. Even just thinking about it now, you're like, what on earth? I'm like, fine. I'll change out of the monkey suit, I'll put on some regular clothes, and drive out there, fingers crossed. By the time I get out there, everybody else, my mom, my cousin, uncle, whoever would have found him. Get there, nothing. We drive the back roads because we live a little bit off the grid. And we have 12 acres, and our acreage backs up to other people who have that amount or more. And, we look. I go off into the woods because as a kid, that was kind of my safe haven, was anytime I was frustrated, I would run off into the woods, head down to the creek, build a fire. So I took the paths that I knew and went back towards the pond, and we drove some back roads and never found them. And eventually had to report it, and the sheriff's department came out, and Of course, they'll help you look for a little bit, and then it starts getting dark, and they're like, well, we got to suspend looking for them because it's dark and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, you're like, you know, they have a mobile command center there, and oh. And now we're being questioned and interrogated as if we did something to my grandfather, you know. Now the search has stopped. We're going to look in the morning. But now we're going to question every member of the entire family. You know, you brown people. I'm sure y'all did it for some reason. Yeah. I don't know. You know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. To me, I really don't care what you are. I care about who you are. But where I'm from is very conservative. I would probably say it's less racist, but I would definitely, I'm sure there's an undertone of old white money type racism where I'm at. So yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know. If Grandpa Smith had been missing to a bunch of white folks, would the command center have set up and interrogated all them? Or is it because we're brown? You know. Yeah, I'm white on the inside. So, yeah. But yeah, that was a whole thing. And I didn't sleep at all. I had to get permission to leave from the police and check in and check out to go home and get clothes and take a shower and whatnot at like 4 or 5 in the morning and bring some clothes for my wife and daughter. And then the next morning, the search resumed. We broke off into grids, or the fire department came, and we found them. And, you know, wasn't too long into it, and it was so crazy because they found them sitting under this tree. And I know where this tree is, and when we drove the back roads, it actually meets up with this back road, this tree where this pasture is, where this pond is. But he must have not have made it that far by when we had driven by there, because that was kind of one of the first places we had driven. But they found him. He was sitting under a tree. I think he had maybe a fork or something in his hand. I don't know. Yeah, we don't know. We never had any answers. I mean, he was dehydrated because he'd been missing. He'd been out in the elements for 18 hours. And it is Texas. Fairly certain it was the summer, which is like hell. But they brought him out, they drove to that back area down the back road, put him in an ambulance, and then parked at the end of our road where the command center was for a minute to let the family see him. And on the way out, you know, because we have an eighth of a mile dirt road, on the way out, we see him, but me, my wife, and my daughter, we're actually on the way to like a preschool. I think my daughter was in preschool. It was like the equivalent of Meet the Teachers, but it's kind of like, hey, here's the parents' rules and what we expect and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I had been up all day the day before, all night, and through the next day having to listen to a preschool ceremony. And then, you know, we went to this place where you can order food and play board games with my daughter because she was still little, and, you know, we were trying to normalize it. Or, well, you know, not necessarily normalize, but I guess when somebody's 4, you know, their level of understanding is different, and you don't want to alarm her because, you know, children can still pick up on energy. And so, but yeah, we never knew. Like, we think, you know, we have a trash day on a certain day, and you know, we have to put the trash cans in the truck and drive them to the end of the road because it's an eighth of a mile. And we think maybe he was walking to the trash can because the trash can was down there, and when he was coming back, the road doesn't dead end. It kind of goes through onto our neighbor's property, but straight into woods. And I guess he just kept walking. But, that was several years before he passed. But, yeah, it was super stressful. Because all these things, my uncle's like, maybe somebody took him. Maybe he got in the vehicle with someone. He doesn't drive. His car's here. His keys are here. His medicine's here. Everything's here. Everybody was just so stumped. But, it's kind of like when they set up the command center and you're being questioned and all this is happening. You're like, you feel like you're on A&E or Investigation Discovery. Like, holy shit. Like, man, how the fuck did I end up here? Basically. Yeah, so it's never you till it is you. And just because you think in a million years it couldn't, won't, can't happen, on that day I never thought in a million years I'd be searching for my grandfather for 18 hours while he was missing and being questioned by the police as if we did something to him. And I was a professional at that time. It's like we'd have no reason. But yeah. So, on that note, I hope everybody had a good Christmas. I hope you have a great New Year. Try to be safe. Try to spend time with your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Be nice. Be nice to each other. You listen to all the podcasts before. I've had a lot of loss in grandparents, nurses that I've managed, front desk staff that I've managed. Life is fragile. And you have to enjoy these times because the past 3 years have taught me that every year at Christmas and every year at New Year's, there's one less person there, one less person at that seat. And one day, it might be your seat that's empty. You might be that one less person. So, I would say slow down. Enjoy the people you're with. Enjoy your time. Take a break from social media. Don't scroll. Be attentive. Be present. Listen to music. Lead with love. Try to be somewhere safe when the ball drops. Try not to be out on the roads after midnight. You're just asking for trouble. If you're going to be out downtown or something, stay somewhere close, take a taxi or an Uber. But, I would say try to be somewhere safe. Try to be with the people you care about. Just have a good time and enjoy it because life is short and, can't get back time. So you got to take advantage of it. And just get yourself mentally prepared to shut the book on this chapter and open the new one. And, ease into it. Don't slay all your dragons at once. Go for consistency and progress, not perfection. And maybe I'll see you guys or let you guys, give a listen on Sunday night, New Year's Eve. If I should be so lucky, if the stars align and I'm able to do something like that. And if not, then I will definitely see you guys around the beginning of the new year. And like I said, thank you all for listening. Please share, like, subscribe, and hope you have great holidays. Peace out.